Peace, peace, greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Facts. I'm not gonna be on here that long. I just wanted to go live, give a little update. I kind of got caught up. I was watching my brother Logic. Hope y'all can hear me. Watching my brother Logic. He was on a discussion, and make sure I got everything going right. Yeah, my brother Logic was a part of a discussion. Man, we got a thumbs down already. They be waiting for us to go live. Tonight, I'm just gonna run through some things and basically talk about. Shout out to my Mars. I don't know why it's not letting me tag you, but shout out North. I see you in the building. I just want to bring up a couple of things and just talk to him a little bit. Little news updates, a little segment that I want to get going over the next couple of weeks as we expand the platform. Please forgive me. I'm kind of all over the place trying to get everything together, but I was just watching my brother Logic go in on this other platform with some black conservative Republicans there talking some flat out nonsense, and my brother just had to just drop some fire on him real quick. So let me give a shout out to everybody that's listening in. What I want to start. Let's see what I want to start with tonight. I just want to run through some articles. I want to start with this article here about California keeping its prison factories open, where inmates worked for pennies an hour as COVID-19 spread. Let me get into this real quick. Let me share my screen. All right, so this caught my eye earlier. Seen it posted on Twitter, and I can't say it's hard to believe, right? It's not hard to believe. Under the 13th Amendment, these types of provisions were made legal in the Constitution of these United States of America. And this is why the job of us reparationists as we move forward is still the same job as abolitionism, because once slavery was legalized via the loophole in the 13th Amendment, then we had the onset of things like convict leasing, et cetera, vagrancy laws. And this particular article is a throwback to that time. So I want to go through this real quick. This sister that's pictured with the masks superimposed over her face, her name is Robbie Hall. The caption to this image says, Robbie Hall earned 60 cents an hour sewing masks at a factory in a women's prison in Chino. She was hospitalized with a serious case of COVID-19 in May after an outbreak there. So let's read. It says, while much of California shut down this spring, Robbie Hall stitched masks for 12 hours a day in a sewing factory at a women's prison in Chino. For several weeks, Hall and other women said they churned out masks by the thousands, but were forbidden from wearing them. Can you imagine that? You're making the instruments to help mitigate the spread of a highly infectious disease, and the prison where you're making these masks at tell you that you can't wear them, which is why the sister had a severe case of COVID. It continues. The incarcerated seamstress at the California Institution for Women grew increasingly worried. The fabric they used came from the nearby men's prison, where an outbreak ended up killing 23 inmates, and their boss regularly visited both institutions. So you had a boss, I don't know what type of boss you have when you're making 8 cents to $1 a day, but not only is he visiting both institutions, they're getting their fabrics from the same institution where the outbreaks are extremely high. It says, quote, "Are we safe with her going over there and coming back here?" End quote. Hall remembered asking her co-workers as they sold. Then it happened. In early May, COVID-19 broke out in the sewing factory, sickening at least 4 incarcerated workers, including Hall. She spent weeks in the hospital, struggling to breathe. California's prison system has taken drastic measures to combat the coronavirus, halting rehab programs, religious services, and educational classes. But correctional authorities kept one type of operation running through much of the last 6 months: prison factories. Hall was one of thousands of incarcerated workers who stayed on the job in high-risk positions during the pandemic, making wages that range from 8 cents to $1 an hour. They cooked the food. They walked from cell to cell delivering meals. They cleaned everything from communal showers to COVID-19 units in prison hospitals. And they labored in prison factories making products such as masks, hand sanitizers, and furniture that was sold to state agencies for millions of dollars. For millions of dollars. And yet they only received 8 cents to 1 hour. 8 cents to $1 an hour. Robbie Hall, as this quote highlights, says that it was like a slave factory. The more you give them, the more they want. This is modern day slavery, family. This is modern day convict leasing. This is modern day black holes. This is modern day vagrancy laws. We are living in neo-slavery and neo-Jim Crow and neo-segregation and neo everything that ever happened to us as a people. We are witnessing a recycling of these wicked racist institutions. And I want to come to a video and share it with the family about what I'm speaking about in convict leasing, called Slavery by Another Name. This was powerful. As I read this particular article, I was struck by how similar it was to convict leasing back in those days. So I'm going to share this video.
Convict leasing in the South in this period becomes a new way of racial control among white Southerners attempting to limit African-American economic independence and freedom in general. And what that means is that state officials would sell the labor of an African-American prisoner to a private contractor. The terms of that agreement usually involved a period of time, say 10 days for a very minor sentence, to up to a year. And in exchange for getting the labor of the prisoner and taking full custody of the prisoner by the private contractor, the state would receive revenue. What that meant in terms of what convict leasing involved was that African Americans would work in any industry, whether working for a private farmer, whether it was in a brick making factory, a coal mine, any number of business concerns, and the business owner would have absolute dominion over the Black person for the period of time of the lease. But once you were in the system, you could spend the rest of your life there. And that was a direct consequence of the reality of being a convict lease and having to fight literally to survive day by day in incredibly brutal conditions.
So we see, and I wanted to play that because I thought that it was important when you look at what he was saying about our people being leased out to farmers and other private industries, etc. What struck me in the story from the LA Times was when it said that, I'm gonna read it again. It says that the wages range from 8 cents to $1 an hour. They cooked food. They walked from cell to cell delivering meals. They cleaned everything from communal showers to COVID-19 units in prison hospitals. And they labored in prison factories making products such as masks, hand sanitizer, and furniture. that were sold to state agencies for millions of dollars. So while back in the days, what we witness is a leasing out of our people to private industry, today what we see is private industry pouring the necessary resources into the prison so that they could get the slave labor that they need. I mean, belts are made in prison, fans, they have fisheries, farms. I mean, they still make license plates, et cetera, et cetera. So we're still living in a sense through a certain form of slavery. This is why they keep our people criminalized. This is why this reparation fight for us reparationists is a multifaceted fight. And, you know, with a lot of what we see going on in this nation today, we have to really come up with a strategy on how to move forward, because me and the team and I getting up here and talking about it every week, that's not helping the situation. It's helping to educate. But we're in COVID times, and once hopefully this thing clears up, we'll be able to put some boots on the ground and make the necessary moves that's needed so that we can push with our first congressional focus for 2022 and our political goals in general. Without occupying these offices, then we're just talking about it. Most of you are familiar with the article that I've shared here on the BTP platform about in 2053, Black wealth will, starting at the middle Black family, will be $0. And we're witnessing that right now in a sense, right? COVID is creating a whole bunch of problems, but what the people with the money are doing at the top is they're starting to hoard. And this is from Yahoo Finance. It says Americans are hoarding trillions of dollars in cash before the presidential election. Let me blow this up a little bit so y'all can try to read along with me. It says American households are socking away large sums of cash amid economic uncertainties later this year, such as a new wave of COVID-19 and the post-presidential election aftermath, because you have militia out there saying that if Biden wins, it's going to be civil war. If Trump wins, it's going to be a riot. Either way, we're going to be ready. Basically, they're prepping for a civil war. This makes the stock market uneasy. This makes investors uneasy, because if America is at war and if America is burning, the money can't move, period. It says U.S. consumers built up an astounding $12.5 trillion in excess of savings from April through July, according to new research by Morgan Stanley economist Ellen Zentner. This equates to 13.5 months of the $600 a week supplemental employment insurance benefit that lapsed on July 31st, Zentner estimates. Now, if you look at that number, $12.5 trillion, and I'm not going to go through this whole thing, we know that this is what we're asking for at the low end to help close the gap, what's called the racial wealth gap. At the low end, this is what we're asking for, that 12.5 million. I believe that breaks down to about $400K a piece in direct payments, if my math is correct. I did these numbers some months ago. So, you know, I wanted to share this because I was just listening to a panel discussion with my brother Logic on, and the sister Tamara. She's running for city council. I believe it's out in California somewhere. And they had some Trump conservatives on, and they were talking a whole bunch of, well, I got good insurance, so there's nothing wrong with health insurance. And there is no systemic racism because I made it type of nonsense. But we're not the ones that are hoarding $12.5 trillion in excess. We're not doing that. So I'm going to read this little part and get off of here. It says, cash hoards have been built across the income spectrum, says Zentner. That ultimately runs counter to cash being saved by wealthier households during tough economic times, while lower income households are forced to spend more aggressively due to job loss, etc. So let me read that again. Cash hoards have been built across the income spectrum, says Zettner. That ultimately runs counter to cash being saved by wealthier households during tough economic times, with lower income households are forced, while lower income households are forced to spend more aggressively due to job loss. So those of us who are at the bottom, we have to spend and spend and spend. We cannot hoard. A part of the reason for them not starting the stimulus, extending the $600 payments, Mitch McConnell said it in his debate during Jamie Harrison, that he didn't want to continue giving people more money than they were making while they were at their jobs, because it wouldn't incentivize them to go back to work during the time of one of America's greatest pandemics. This makes absolutely no sense. Y'all go out there and die so we can keep this economy moving. Y'all will be all right. But that doesn't work for us who have pre-existing conditions and high, what is the term? I think it's called comorbidity rates, et cetera, et cetera. So, these type of things don't equate good for us. And yet we're the ones at the bottom, and we're the ones who are going to bear the brunt of whatever falls to the bottom. It is what it is. It says the $1 trillion question on the minds of consumer companies is if and when households will start to spend this money. Absent a new round of fiscal stimulus, most indications suggest consumers are tightening back up on their spending ahead of the holidays after splurging to stock cupboards and buy work from home gear at the height of COVID-19 in March. The Commerce Department reported earlier this month that August retail sales rose 0.6%, slightly missing forecasts for 0.7% growth. As 0.6% growth rate in retail sales last month cooled from a downwardly revised pace of 0.9% in July, which was a 1.2 increase for July as previously reported. Meantime, retailers from Target to Walmart to Macy's have warned of sales slowdowns in September as households spent cautiously around back-to-school products. People didn't have to buy as many pencils and erasers and that whole laundry list of items that schools send home with their children. So, I like I said, I wanted to get on here and provide some updates to what's going on in the news, things that we need to prepare for as we move forward, because it's not looking good for us, family. It's not looking good. It's not looking good for us. We are about to face a very, very rough time. America's descendants of slavery have always had to fight through the toughest of times in America. But I fear that even with the Biden administration and the Kamala administration, that we're going to be left out. Trump in a tweet basically said that he's working on a stimulus package for the hardworking families of those affected by COVID. And when any of these candidates are speaking, they're speaking about things that only affect the middle class and upper. You never hear them speak about the poor, because they are under the illusion that the poor have a safety net called welfare, which is never enough to get anyone through a month. So, I wanted to come on here and just talk a little bit to the family and, run through some of these articles real quick. There's a bunch of articles that I wanted to share. I guess I got time. I haven't been on here that long, so I'll touch on a few of these just real brief. So I want to pull up this article because it dealt with how the fastest growing job failed our Black women in America. This is from the Washington Post. Fastest growing U.S. job failed to lift pay for Black women. And it says, who gets this job? And we're looking at this chart and say white, black, Latino, other. Registered nurses, $73,000 a year. We see white, black, Latino, other. Now, the problem with these charts are they're not disaggregated, meaning they don't separate America's descendants of slavery from Caribbeans, Africans, et cetera, et cetera. So let me read. It says, a job in home-based healthcare, America's quickest growing industry, felt like a step up the ladder for Shawana Ferguson when she left her fast food job a decade ago. But in terms of pay and security, it didn't turn out to be much of an advance. It's taken a public health emergency to shine a spotlight on the precarious conditions and low pay in this key corner of America's direct care economy, a key employer for Black women in particular, and turn it into an issue for presidential politics. Democratic candidate Joe Biden is promising a $775 billion investment in the industry, which he says will help give carers a pay raise. Ferguson was earning $10.50 an hour when the coronavirus arrived in her town of Walterboro, South Carolina. She had to buy her own sanitizer and face mask. Now, think about that. You got to pay your rent, your utilities, your necessities out of $10.50 an hour and not be provided in an industry that's supposed to have these type of things available out of your own pocket, face masks and sanitizer. It continues. When her mother, who also works in home care, tested positive for COVID-19, Ferguson decided the risks were no longer worth the reward. In the middle of the worst economic crisis in generations, she quit. We're putting ourselves at risks, says the 30-year-old a few weeks later, as she fixes lunch for her 4 kids in the kitchen of her subsidized house. We're becoming sick and getting our family members sick. And it just goes unnoticed, they think. Well, they're going to come to work anyway because they need the money. I just spoke about what Mitch McConnell said in his debate with Jamie Harrison. I read about the prison where they're in California, where they're making masks in the middle of a crisis. They are making masks and not being required to wear them. We are throwaways. If you go back and you look at the time of convict leasing, and Dr. Darity touches on this in his book, From Here to Equality, and it talks about how we were dying. Some estimates I believe I've seen, I'm not sure if it was that book, was between 10 and 15 people per day. 10 and 15 people per day. This is because we've never done politics right. And we've been duped by both parties, particularly the Democratic Party. But now we are going through an awakening. And I believe that on the flip side of this, we will come out better off. But we have to center our focus on the things that are necessary. I don't get on here to just talk. I get on here to help empower so that we can move as a collective towards the ultimate goal, which is reparations. I'm gonna read a little bit of this and I'm gonna get out of here. Okay. So it says, what do they pay? Home-based careers are home-based careers are among the poorest paid U.S. work. Now, this is basically the service industry where largely our women work. And it shows median annual earnings in 2019, fast food / counter worker, $22,000 a year. Most people's rent equates to $10,000 a year. Most people's rent is, I calculate my rent for over 12 months is $9,600. $9,600. A waiter / waitress, $22.9 thousand per year. Home health care professional, $25.3 thousand a year. Janitor, cleaner, $27,000 a year. Restaurant cook, $27.8 thousand a year. Freight, stock laborer, $29,000. These are not salaries that you can live off of in America and pay your rent, pay your utilities, have a quality of living, buy or treat yourself to some of the nicer things in life. It is a perpetual hamster wheel that this system has kept us on. Not necessarily the system, but the people who are running the system. And this is why I say there's nothing wrong with the system. There is something wrong with the people who are running the system. There's something wrong with these people. And we have to make it our business, all of us, everybody that's listening in this chat. I pray that we inspire you to get up and make a change and run on platforms, even at the national level, like our sister Tamara Shirley Johnson is doing, to jump out that window with no parachute on. Because what else do we have? We can't wait for reparations to run. We can't wait for some in hopes that somebody is going to come out of the woodworks with millions of dollars to help fund what we're trying to push. And this is why we believe that Sister Tamara's race is so important. I'm gonna exit up out of here, but I again, there are so many different elements of this thing that we've witnessed over the past couple of years. They've been spoken on by other channels. We've spoken about them here. Dr. Darity in his wealth reports have explicitly and succinctly laid them out. We are going downward, and COVID has precipitated this plunge. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? It is incumbent upon us to understand our people power and push in a direction towards becoming Congress people. We have to become members of the House of Representatives. We have to become senators. We have to push to become governors. And I know that's probably the hardest office to win, to become a governor in a state where our numbers have been historically low. In just about every state of the union, you couple in abortions, you couple homicide, you couple a bunch of different factors where we're not producing the next generation of electors at the same rate that the Hispanics and other people who have just migrated over 2 generations ago, and we are being systematically replaced. We are being wiped out. Some of it is a self-inflicted genocide caused by the factors of what we know as white supremacy today. They are at the root and the base of it. So, like I said, I wanted to get on here. This is some of what we're going to be doing. Little pop-up BTP News. Shout out to some of our people that's in the building. Shout out to all of Mars. Shout out Sister Riri. We're going to expand this news section of BTP so that we can start becoming our own TYT. We're going to start bringing more notable names on while we produce the politicians that we want to see running for office. So I'm gonna see if I think my bros are still checking out. Yeah, they still going in. You got Reza Islam and them on the other panel. I said I had set this time up, but they were late with their startup time. I think it was supposed to be 6 hour time. So I set this particular program up for 7:30 Eastern time. So we're not gonna stay on here long, but I see my people they're going in. A lot of that stuff that Reza Islam is saying is just a bunch of conspiracy. I was listening in. You had a bunch of Trump supporter, quote unquote, black conservatives. This like we are in a. I don't use profanities, but we are in a cluster. Y'all can figure out the rest. And if we're not together, moving together politically, then we're just going to keep falling flat on our faces. I'm going to speak to this. Some of you know about the little Twitter feud that happened. And, it was an unfortunate event. I'm not going to speak in depth to it about causes and reasons, et cetera, but it just goes to show that the Malcolm Martin dynamic, the Martin Stokely Carmichael dynamic, all of these different players were never unified. They never moved on a front of unification so that we could move this thing forward. And if you go back to some of our earlier programs on Be the Power, we spoke about how we who came out of Islam, I'm still Islamic. I'm just a westernized Islamic individual, that we are going to represent the Malcolm X side, and we're going to get with those that represent the Martin Luther King Jr. side so that we could finally get the job done. But Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the man who I follow, spoke about these old ancient hatreds that we had, and he spoke about the need to eliminating them in these days and times. There's something within the spirit of our people that forces us to be adversarial towards each other. And I think that if we can't recognize that in these days and times, with all that's going on, with particularly with COVID coming in and shining, forget a spotlight, somebody opened up the blinds in a dark room and shine the light on every speck of dust that is, our problems as quote unquote African Americans. Nyame Ubuntu said Malcolm X was a Pan-African, and that's true, Nyame. But I'm not a Pan-Africanist in that sense, right? I am an American citizen. I mean, Pan-Africanism is an idea that never manifested anything but a bunch of talking points and good sounding rhetoric. And we have to be honest with ourselves about that. What was manifested, what was tangible, things that we can touch. You see this image behind me? This is tangible. This is what was going on at that time. You see these Freemasons, these what appears to be Prince Hall Freemasons on this side, and you see these freedom fighters on this side. If I move out the way, you see these soldiers that fought for the army. We see these educators below. We see a woman teaching. Like, this isn't Pan-Africanism, beloved. This is Americanism right here. And you're right, brother Nyame. It's time for us to work together. And this is why we said we are the Malcolm in this day and age, because we understand the differences of, or where, rather, I could say where Malcolm was wrong at. John Henry Clark said that we stand on, he said the next generation of scholars are supposed to stand upon our shoulders and get it right. They are supposed to correct any errors that we make now. And that should be the goal of what we're trying to do right now. And in no way should we be pushing, who are pushing for reparations, be beefing with each other. It just makes absolutely no logical sense at all. We need each other. It's hard enough trying to get Muslim brothers in on this reparationist fight. They believe that, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know what they believe in. The judgment day is going to happen. We are living the judgment day every single day. And this is why I debate with what's called Orthodox Muslims all the time, because they just don't understand Americanism. So I got this background up. This is us. This is our legacy. This is what our ancestors came through. I know for a fact that I got Moorish ancestry. Forget going all the way back to South Carolina. I mean, Africa, but going back to South Carolina. My identity as a Moor, you never see me getting on here proselytizing and telling people that they need to be Moors or else. Never once seen me do that. We spoke to the issue of blackness. As you can see, I got on a black shirt and a black hat, but my skin is clearly brown, right? We spoke to those things, of course, but that's not what I'm here to do. The ultimate goal is political unity. And I don't care what your religious or ideological, spiritual background is, we are at the bottom. And if your ideology blinds you from the fact that we are economically the floor of the United States of America, then I think that what you believe in is trash, because my ideology taught me to open my eyes, which is why I sought out wherever the truth led me, which ultimately led to us doing this particular platform on Be the Power. And I want to give a shout out to my Be the Power team. Shout out to everybody that's sending donations. We have the Patreon up and running. I believe the link is in the description for those that want to join and make recurring contributions to the platform. Nayami says, W.E.B. Du Bois was a Pan-African. Did he contribute to our struggle? I don't know what you mean, contribute to our struggle. Maybe I don't know if you should reword that. If you mean our freedom fighting, yes, he did. I have my issues with W.E.B. Du Bois. I have some real issues with some of the things that W.E.B. Du Bois did. But as what was his title? It's just escaping my. A sociologist, if I'm not mistaken, I believe W.E.B. Du Bois was a sociologist. He was able to go through America. If he was a Pan-Africanist, his Pan-Africanism was centered on Americanism. I can't remember seeing too many essays where W.E.B. Du Bois spoke of this global unity, particularly without addressing America's descendants of slavery first. I'm not saying I read everything on Du Bois. I haven't, but Brother Texwell said Du Bois was a late bloomer to Pan-Africanism. Yeah, when you go back to Edward Wilmot Blyden, and when you look at the origins of Pan-Africanism, like we've said repeatedly on this platform, a lot of what's being presented today is not what Pan-Africanism was centered around. You take a people that was brutalized, the Klan, the court system, the police officers, just private citizens that were just racist. They were born racist because their parents were racist generationally. And of course you were looking for this worldwide unity. You were looking something to link arm in arm with. Garvey spoke about the 400 million Negroes in Africa and all over the globe under or forming one united front. When you go back and look at that in context, according to the time period, then you gain a better understanding of what that type of Pan-Africanism is. But as time goes on, you are supposed to correct, as John Henrik Clarke said, you stand on the shoulders of those that came before you and you make the necessary corrections. This is why, let me pull this up. Let me pull this up before I get off of here. You see what NARC is doing? This is NARC's website. National groups join reparatory justice. National groups join reparatory justice initiative in Elaine, Arkansas. So what anybody familiar with the Arkansas massacre, I believe 200 of our people were just brutally murdered. Some people say that the number has been grossly undercounted over the years, but I believe 200 was the number that was recorded. So what NARC is doing is they're going around the country and they're planting these seeds, right? I'm gonna read it where it says, enter a group of national organizations, the National African American Reparations Commission, the Fund for Reparations Now, FFRN, an affiliate of NARC, and the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference to stand with the descendants of the massacre in their quest for justice. You see what NARC is doing here is planting seeds all over the country with these local quote unquote reparations initiatives. They can't necessarily be called that. And if they are called that, they have to be distinguished from federal reparations, the federal reparations push that we're trying to get done now. So they are positioning themselves to be the committee people or subcommittee people on the commission that is established by HR 40, and they're creating a footprint. This is why I begin to question certain things that were going on, because how is it that this particular group is beating us? This is when I was speaking collectively to the punch in every city across America. We should be, and some of my brothers and I are starting to draft up our own city initiatives that we will not call reparations, or we will call them something else. My brother Ali is working on some things now and toying around with a couple of names, but we will not call them necessarily reparations because it confuses things and it muddies the water. But these people they're leaving a footprint. They're going to get on that HR 40 commission and pay themselves over the next 5, 6, 7 years doing studies that have already been done. This would be a failure on our part. I would feel like I did all of this for nothing, to be honest with you. To watch them make a case that all people in the diaspora should get reparations from the United States, and then watch the Republicans and the Democrats who would come to their senses reject it and say these people have no claim, and then shut the door on the claim in general to make it appear as if we don't know what they're talking about. See, the Republicans are not necessarily going to step in now and say anything. It's like, just wait, let it get to commission. These people are trying to give reparations to everybody. They know what's going on with the reparationist movement that has been happening over the past year and a half now. They see it. They're using some of the talking points. Mitch McConnell, I, like Barack Obama, am a descendant of what did he say? Descendants of slaveholders in the South, or something to that effect. They know what's going on. But Texwell said Narc and then Cobra got to go. Since I'm here, one says Narc and Cobra are the real agents. Yeah, but our advocacy is small. And I see Dr. Darity. Shout out to Dr. Darity because he's out there trying to fight. But it's almost like he's out there by himself. I don't have, and my brothers and I at BTP, we don't have the voice to be out there pushing with the Dr. Darity on NBC and MSNBC and NPR, et cetera, loud enough to get at Cobra and Narc and start creating the viable, I can't even say viable alternatives, the only alternatives, which are either the edits to HR 40 or the complete abolition of that thing. It needs to be abolished, and a whole new House resolution needs to be put together. It's just as simple as that. It's simple as that. So we got to become louder. They're making moves right now. Narcan and Cobra are setting up to be the heads of reparations under HR 40. This in turn is going to mean that we're never going to get reparations. By 2053, like I said earlier, the middle black family, which is now only worth $1,700, will be worth zero. We're going to be in a country that we cannot afford to live in. Somebody said Project Takeover. Yeah, but I don't want to take over Narcan and Cobra. Why? We're doing reparationist work. Build up what we have. Build up what we have. Like I said, my voice is not loud enough. BTP voice is not loud enough. It's barely a whisper among those that have an ear to hear and eyes to see. But we're going to keep pushing and we're going to keep fighting because we have to. So these are some of the issues that I wanted to touch on today. Get into some of the economic news. The forecast doesn't look good for our people. I'm struggling now with this term American descendants of slavery. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, because we've done nothing but fought for our people, particularly under that term, because we seen the reason in it. We discerned it. And after the past week and a half, it made it a little difficult to do that. It made it a little difficult to do that when you know where your heart is and what you're fighting for and the people that you're fighting against. So, and I'm not going to get into that whole thing, but I usually speak what's on my mind. It's hard for me to bite my tongue. But, I mean, the buildup is supposed to be so that it is us putting these initiatives together all over the place. That's what this build, I believe, that it should be us doing these things. We shouldn't even have to take anybody's language and then fight to have it reworded and just to have it come back and reworded again by the original drafters, et cetera, because they're trying to leave their stamp on things so that when it's time for them to get on the commission, they'll have those seats. So yeah, look, Dr. Lely, I'm sticking with American descendants of slavery because this is a lineage. I understand that. I'm not trying to, we're not trying to create any new language, but when you get accused of certain things, it rubs you the wrong way. When it's purposefully done, and it's what the carve out, right? And you feel like you're being carved out and you just been doing nothing but fighting. Like I'm gonna keep fighting because the fight that I'm fighting is with the principalities and dark places, as it says in the Christian Bible. These people that make policies and smoke-filled rooms and among legislators and their legislative councils. Let me see. Let me pull Dr. Lely's comment up. She said, you give Cobra and NARC too much credit. They will not build a broad coalition to lead this move. If this is a move of the creator, why are you worried what them bums doing? Look, sis, here's my response to that. If you think that NARC and Cobra tentacles do not reach across this country in certain black spaces, sis, you're mistaken. You're mistaken, sis. You are. I gotta be honest with you. These people are, they have their hands on the pulse of this reparations movement. While they might not have given it its resurrection, if you will, caused the heartbeat of reparations again to happen. While they might not have done that, what they have been able to do is use their 30 plus years of influence over organizations to reach their tentacles in places, particularly political spaces in quote unquote black cities all over America. Asheville, there's some things going on in Atlanta right now. A lot of this, I just pulled up the article about Elaine, Arkansas. That's them, sis. It's not, you got it. I'm a warrior at the end of the day, and every true warrior has to respect their adversaries. It's just as simple as that. You respect your adversary. You hope to either kill him or be killed by him. And I know that language may sound harsh, but you have to understand that, like my brother Logic said, politics is war without the bloodshed. So I disagree with you, sister. I respect you 1,000%. You already know that, but I disagree. I disagree, sis. These people have a very quiet but broad influence in Black politics. The Nation of Islam is repeating NARC and then Cobra's talking points in their final call, in their talking points. She said, we made Mark Thompson lose his job on Sirius XM. I'm not worried about them weaklings. Yeah, but sis, that's a talk show, sis. We're talking about politics and policy that's getting passed at the local level and being called reparations. Evanston, Illinois is another one. They're popping up in my mind right now. But yeah, I just think we have to be a little more vocal, and I think we have to respect our adversaries. These people are adversaries to what we're trying to accomplish, because for them, it is just a big payday. That's all it is. It's not about reparations for them. It's about keeping the money churning for them, keeping a job for themselves over the next couple of years. Sheila Jackson Lee is already talking about increasing the budget. It already went from, I believe, 8 million to 12 million. Now she's talking about increasing it some more. These are well-placed shots towards the movement that resurrected the heartbeat of reparations in the first place. I'm listening. I'm observing. I'm watching what the enemy do. I'm watching what they do, sis. Let me see. Let me pull up this comment. 2008 B. Scott said, I think Atlanta is going to be a hard fight because establishment figures and organizations are so strong there because Blacks there, quote unquote, made it by aligning with those institutions. And, I'm not necessarily sure of the context of your comment, but if it's what I think it is in relation to what I said about Narcan and Cobra and their tentacles reaching to places like Atlanta, yeah, exactly. This is a fight, family. We are in a fight. We are fighting on so many different fronts. That's why, we don't want to be fighting with each other. That it dampens morale. For others, they just like, where's the fight at? And they just pulling out their swords and they're just swinging at all perceived enemies. And if it's among ourselves, then it's corny. At the end of the day, we become exactly what we've always become, the death of movements, and why Dr. King's push died after his assassination, and the rise of Black powerism with its baseless, and I gotta be honest, y'all could call me on it, y'all could correct me on it, but with its baseless rhetoric that did nothing but create the groups that we see today, like NARC and then Cobra. But we have to be real here. So I'm gonna probably run through a couple more of these comments. I've been on for an hour. Y'all know Lovecraft Country coming on tonight. I'll absolutely love that series. I know some of the fam was talking about one of the writers disparaging our people here, but she wrote one of the episodes. I didn't let that damper my enjoyment of this series. That joint is dope to me. It's inspirational. I love it. But let me see. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna pull Dr. Lely's comment up. She says HR 40 will not have any movement in the upcoming congressional makeup. It will take us at least 2 to 3 cycles to get the people we need in place to do a reparations program. Look, I can't argue with you on that point, sis. I wouldn't. The only thing I would do is give my opinion on it. And my opinion is that I believe that the groundswell that has been created around reparations over the past year and a half has caused so many politicians, congressmen, etc., to co-sponsor this particular bill. I haven't even looked at it. The numbers could have gone up from the last time I've checked, right? And that indicates to me that there may be some movement on HR 40. There may be some movement. We started to see momentum before Obama gets elected. During Obama's 8 years, he steps on reparations, so much so that HR 40, his whole eight years basically is dead. It's lamed up. It's just sitting there doing nothing. Now the movement and the amount of co-sponsors, I wouldn't say that nothing is going to happen. I just can't think that way. And I don't believe that that's a strategic way to look at it, but that's just my own opinion on it. Let me see. I'm going to run through some more of these comments. Let's see. Some of these comments. Peace, everybody that's just tuning in. BT said you got to check our next. I'm not familiar with that, Sister BT. If you could give me a little more context of what that is. Let me see. Okay, Taj Marie says, we have to fight back the BIPOC initiatives being pushed in our own backyard of North Carolina. ADOS don't have time for these internal arguments over terminology. Agreed. It's just silly. It's just absolutely silly to me. While these people, I'm a chess player. I try to employ sound strategy. I got a group of sharp individuals on Be the Power who are also sound strategists, intellectuals as well. We talk every single day, man. That's the first thing we do when we wake up in the morning. I forgot to call my grandmother today because the first thing I did this morning was jumped on with the bros because we're always building and we're always talking strategy. Sorry, Grandma. I'm gonna call you tomorrow if you're listening. But the fighting part is stupid. It's silly. It's about nothing. It's about nothing. Things that could be resolved behind closed doors as we push forward. Wow, these people, we got a brother, I don't want to shout him out because I don't know if he wants to be shouted out in Colorado that's trying to get some things done about a lot of language that's going on at the local legislative level with a lot of this BIPOC stuff that they're putting together out there. We're aiming our guns in the wrong direction. We can't afford to be having Mexican standoffs and somebody let a shot go off because some people ain't trying to get shot and they trying to shoot up everything before they get shot. Dr. Lely says NARC and Cobra and BLM will go dormant after the election. I don't know. For me, that's a tough one to forecast. I hope so. I'm being honest with you. I hope so. Peace to the God knowledge born. Peace, God. Let me see. Rob Tun says HR 40 is the best y'all have right now, though. Look, that's a fair statement. That is a fair statement. You have to be honest. HR 40 is the best thing that we have right now. This is why we're trying to get what we call the Darity edits included in HR 40. But the people who, like Sheila Jackson Lee and her cronies, are doing the ultimate box out of Dr. Darity right now, so that those edits don't ever become a part of the final draft before this thing makes it to a vote and it gets passed. And I believe that it is. I really do. I really do. So I agree with you, Ratun. Let me see. I'm gonna check that out, BT. Let me see. Shout out to ADOS North. She says, but ADOS have no one to blame but ourselves because ADOS loved Obama. So, not me personally. I voted down ballot in 08 and 12. And I think, sis, what we're witnessing right now is an awakening among our people. The problem that we have right now is right-wing propaganda. Essentially, they're taking a lot of what we say and rebranding it and crafting it around their own narrative. Revisionist history about the Democrats are the ones that enslaved us, and the Republicans are the ones that freed us without giving any context about left wing or right wing, So yeah, I agree. But I think we are missing the mark here. And this is why I'm so full-throated behind Sister Tamara Johnson Shirley. We have reparationist candidate right now, fighting for the things that we say that we want legislatively on a national level. And we don't have nobody to point to move the minds of our people who are now right-leaning. All of a sudden, Trump boasts that he enjoys the largest black support in the polls of any Republican candidate, I think he said, in the history of the United States of America. And this just might be true. This might be true. Let me see. What else we have here? What else do we have here? Okay, Rod Tun, let's address this, because this Rod Tun says Obama was the most opposed president ever in Congress. You can't blame him. Brother, there are several videos that we've done here just destroying that myth that there are things that Obama couldn't do because his hands were tied. Please check out the video we did on Obama. I forget the title, but click on the profile, the BTP profile, YouTube profile, and you'll be able to find that video and just watch it and research some of the things that not only we expressed, but the things that we pulled up, like how Obama's policies destroyed black wealth. It wasn't about what the Republicans did or didn't do. This man could have did a lot. He could have did a lot. Byron Allen communicated to Barack Obama personally and said, this is what you can do for the black community as president, regardless of what Congress does. So, go back and check that out. That might be a little bit helpful to you, brother. And maybe it'll help you see things a little bit differently. All right. Let's see. Okay, Dr. Lely says the Darity edits will not happen with this congressional group. We should focus on electing folks like Tamara, Jacory, etc. to the Congress. On this, I agree 1,000%. They're going to try to box Dr. Darity out. That's why we're going to continue to elevate Dr. Darity on this platform, because his work in this space for the past 30 years is unmatched. It's unmatched, period. It's unmatched. The work that he's put out in the past couple of years alone on this topic, in conjunction with other socioeconomists and those that care about this issue, compiled into From Here to Equality, written and published by he and A. Kirsten Mullins. I mean, that work is pivotal in moving us forward as a people, as reparationists in this regard. So we're going to always big up Dr. Darity on this platform. So let me see what else we got going on here. I'm about to get off of here. Okay, ADOS Tucson, Narc / and Cobra, trying to win a popularity contest. We trying to live. Our fight is different. Hashtag ADOS is being strategic. Our fight is a marathon. We here. Exactly. I agree with that 1,000%. I don't care about no Pan-Africanism or none of that stuff. I don't see how they don't see that their strategy is a losing strategy, that the United States of America should pay reparations for all in the diaspora. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. It's foolish. I invite anyone from Narcan and Cobra to come onto the BTP platform for a debate. I invite anyone. And if you know any of them, get them this video, timestamp it. Timestamp it. We invite you onto this platform for a civil debate on this discussion. I'm pretty certain that it's a debate that you're going to lose. It's a debate that you're going to lose. So let me see what else we got going on here. Okay, here's a good, this will be the last one I pull up. Black Contraband says, I want to get your thoughts on something, fam. How do you envision the next 2 years given what's happened in 2020? As ADOS reparationists, where should the focus be? Congressional focus. We've been repeating that on our platform for months now. Our focus needs to be a congressional focus, to the point where I am considering moving back to New York City with my ADOS dollars, right? My little bit of money, to New York City and building up the necessary political activity and name recognition from the streets to local offices, et cetera, and challenging Gregory Meeks for his seat over the district that I grew up in Queens, his congressional seat. That has to be our focus now. Who's sharp among you if you're not sharp, or if you don't feel that you're that sharp? And do you believe that you can get that sharp within the next 2 years? Sharp enough to run for office. This is the push right now, a congressional focus. Who can you spot right now and groom via all of the information that has been put out by ourselves, by ADOS101.com, by Dr. Darity, et cetera. Like, this is how we move over the next 2 years. We have to be laser focused in that regard. We have to be, because if it's not done at the political level, it won't get done. I was listening to Reza Islam over with the little Zoom conference they're having with Brother Logic, talking some unity. Like, these people are just repeating old stale talking points, not understanding that what is sorely needed is political unity. We have to have political unity, period. Without it, we're doomed. We're doomed. And we'll watch the BIPOC POC coalition sweep us further and further under the doormat. So that's what I believe. This is my opinion, that over the next 2 years, given what's happened in 2020, that we need to have a congressional push, a congressional focus for 2022. Everything that we do from here on out needs to be aimed in that direction, while we still fight for reparations. That fight never dies. It never ends. I am a reparationist. Those who are fighting for reparations are reparationists, period. Can't get around that. It's part of the English language. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. Dr. Lee said, run for Meek's seat, Naheem. Yes, I want to. I actually met him back in the days talking that political double talk. I was able to cut through all of that stuff. But, you know, I'm going to have my daughter and her friends back on next week. I believe Logic is going to have his daughter on as well. We're grooming the youth behind the scenes. We're going to start calling it the BTP Youth segment. We're trying to get 10 copies of the book From Here to Equality. We've received several donations already. We have 3 books locked in so far. If you would like to assist us in that venture, we want to get 10 books to our youth. That was a sharp little young panel up there. I was so proud. One of the elders, and I think I told this the other day, but I'll tell it again. One of the elders, she lives in the same units as my children, and she came out. She was like, "I got to give you props for that." And I looked up. I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" I didn't know what she was talking about. She was like, "I got to give you props for what you did with them babies and having them come on your YouTube platform like that and giving them a voice to speak, because they shared it out with all of their family members, so their mothers and grandmothers and everybody in their circle was watching it. And we need to do more of that. We need to get more of our youth involved. We need to grow this thing. And this is another reason why we're pushing our United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, something that we established months ago with the express purpose of reversing lost cause teachings and countering institutions like PragerU with our own online universities, etc. We're going to start putting more things out in the future when we do little update programs like this, little pop-ups. So I'm going to get off of here right now. It's 8:50. My little show is about to come on, and I'm about to check it. So again, thank you all for tuning in. Remember the motto. Shout out to my pops, Forever God Wallace. He said, "Teach the babies. Peace to the God." Remember the motto to our platform is, "Don't just fight the power, become the power." And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. With that, I say peace.